love just opening with a question. So put it in the chat or give me a high five if you're off camera. Anybody feeling like this? These are all real texts or DMs that I've received recently, but this is from a loan officer. And she just said, I'm feeling really overwhelmed with the number of emails that are screaming about AI, feeling over behind and stuck in my files. Or maybe are you feeling one of the questions was, are you using AI much? This response was Claude a little bit, but not for systems. I've tried to train it, but I feel like I'm getting more behind. So that's obviously a theme, just feeling like you're falling behind. And then this is my personal favorite. I don't know if you guys follow Neil Dingra, but he posted this and I was like, man, it's so good. I wish I had thought of it first. But he jokes that the pressure to keep up with AI as a 40 something is worse than the pressure to drink as a 16-year-old. And I was like, really briefly, hi, I'm Katie. I have been in the mortgage space for about the last 9 years, been in marketing for over 15 now. And I love storytelling. These are my two kiddos. They really are my why. We live in Northwest Montana and I love AI. I love content. So this should be a really fun call for us today. Okay, so the question I get asked constantly, as I just said, is should I switch to Claude? Now, if you're on this call, it's most likely because you're asking that question, should I switch to Claude? That obviously is going to vary slightly on who you are and how you want to use Claude. But my general rule of thumb is if you are serious about using AI and you want to level up your content game, you want to get better at the content that you create, the way that you connect with people, and you want to use AI as a tool, yes, Claude is really good. I've been using Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini for the last few years, and Claude is exceptional when it comes to copywriting. Okay, here is my unpopular opinion is you guys, the magic isn't in the tool. Okay. A lot of times we think, oh, it's this race between is it ChatGPT? Is it Gemini? Is it Claude? There are a dime a dozen AI tools that are flooding our inboxes right now. And yes, Claude writes, I do believe that Claude writes better, but you guys, it's not the tool. It really comes back to you. So you could have all things compared, you could have a Claude account that is not set up and the output is inferior versus you could have somebody that has their account set up very well and they are bringing their creativity into each chat session and the outputs are going to be very different. So this is what I love talking about is you are the moat. I recently was thinking about it just with the idea of, hey, the individualization, like it's you. And we all talk about GOAT, the greatest of all time. I was like, my goal is to be the moat. Yes, I want to be so unique that I build a moat around me, but I actually want to be the meest of all time. I want my content to feel me. That doesn't mean I want my content to just look like somebody else. I want it to look and feel like me. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to accomplish that today. Okay, so I would love to put in the chat, are you guys primarily using ChatGPT or Claude? What's your go-to AI tool that you are predominantly using? Chat, have not used Claude, chat, Claude, chat. Cool. You guys, this is so common. And Darren, okay, 70-30. Yes. And it's the answer is probably going to be a little bit of maybe it's both, but I still hear this all the time. Most people are using ChatGPT. That's not wrong. ChatGPT is not a terrible tool. The outputs with Claude or the way Claude is set up is really good, but ChatGPT is not a terrible tool. Here's what I find. It's pretty common for people to go from ChatGPT and they're like, okay, I'll get the free version of Claude or the paid version and I'll start. But they take the same patterns and behaviors, habits that they were using in ChatGPT, and they just replicate that in Claude. And then they're like, I don't see the huge difference. Okay, ChatGPT predominantly taught the world how to chat. with an AI tool. You open ChatGPT, you have a prompt, you get an output. Okay, that is the benefit for ChatGPT. Claude is built so different that if you just treat it like you do ChatGPT, your outputs are going to probably feel really similar, which is why you might be thinking, I don't see the huge difference and I'm just going to go back to ChatGPT. Okay, so we're going to get into how it's different. Now, I want you to think that Claude was designed really for the setup. Now, there are 6 main layers to Claude that I always advise people. Hey, the difference between meh and oh my goodness, I feel like it just read my soul typically is in the setup. So, what do I mean by the setup? Okay, and I'm gonna do a demo, so we'll go through this and I'll show you what these different layers are. But in high level, Claude has projects, ChatGPT also has projects. Claude has instructions. So you give instructions for that specific project. You can add files. That's very key. Your chat, and then your connectors and your skills. So, has anybody put this in the chat? Has anybody used custom GPTs? Have you heard of the phrase of a custom GPT? Okay, so yet many of you have, some of you haven't. Totally fine. And I want to acknowledge, Caroline, you said, my chat is so programmed that I'm afraid to switch to Claude. Yes. And I have a story for you on that. Okay. So we're going to talk about, I want to start first before we get into the technical details of setting up your account. I want to first address what makes AI work really well. It simply is that it knows so much about you that it acts like your digital double. Now, this is what you just said, Caroline. If I can, let me see if I can find where I'm trying to find my Zoom really quick, you guys. Darn, trying to figure out how to unshare my screen. And it's not working. Anybody have a tip for me? Okay, so I joke that I was acting like AI before AI was AI. What I mean by that is I've been in the mortgage industry specifically for the last 9 years. And when I first took my position at Guild, I knew nothing about the mortgage industry. So I had to learn everything. Ironically, the role that I was hired into was to 100% manage and ghostwrite content for 2 top producers. So, as you can imagine, on day one, they're like, cool, there's a grace period, but we need you to get caught up to speed and we need you to write content like us. We need you to know about this industry. And oh, by the way, we don't have the time to sit here and hold your hand. So I didn't have AI to go be like, what is a DTI and what's a VOE and how does this pre approval process work? So, what do you think I did? I sat literally, my desk, fortunately, was positioned in between their 2 offices. And I asked, hey, every time you can keep the door open, will you? Why did I do that? Because I wanted to know, how do you talk to a nervous first time homebuyer? How do you overcome rate objections? How do you pitch new realtor business or builder business? So, what I did, and this obviously was a slow process, but over the course of 3 years, I listened to so many reps of them having these same conversations. I was writing their family Christmas cards, I was writing thank you notes, I was writing their content, and I knew their writing style so much that I intentionally made grammatical errors because one of the loan officers had terrible spelling. Okay. That is the nuance of getting to know somebody so well that you can write almost better than they could. And essentially, you fast forward to today, that's really that's the goal of having a well-trained AI tool, is that it knows you so well that your content is like, I feel like you just read my soul. Okay, so what goes in to training your AI tool? A lot of it comes down to your foundation and your story. And that's what we're going to get into right now. Okay, so I'm going to show you side by side a Claude account that has no training, no foundation, none whatsoever. And then I'm going to give you a sneak peek into my actual account. So the way that this is different is this is an incognito window, so it's black on the top, and I labeled it as Rookie Katie. So this is my Claude account that has no foundation whatsoever. And then this Master Katie, this is my personal account that I live in all the time. Okay. So when I talked about a Claude setup, thinking of Claude as like a company. So if you're looking at my screen right here on my table side that you see over here, there's chats, projects, artifacts, and customize. So I'm going to go slow and I'm going to go through each section and just tell you how you set up these or what these different sections are and what makes them really good. Okay, project. Now, if you've been in ChatGPT, maybe you also have projects set up. The philosophy or the concept is the same. So, a project, you want to think of a project as an organized idea. Okay. So maybe that looks like a brand headquarter folder, right? It's just your HQ for all things related to your personal brand, your ideas. Maybe you want to create a folder around content. So every week that you create a social media, or maybe you have a newsletter or something like that, maybe you want to just bucket all of your content into one folder. Maybe you do lunch and learns or you teach events or online webinars and you want a folder dedicated to education, maybe client communication, or maybe if you have specific products, offers, programs, and you want it there, create a project. Now, here is what is cool. Some people might think it's just a way to organize your scattered chats. That's the byproduct. Here's what gets really good about a project. When you have a project and you set it up with all of the other things like I'm going to show you, so let's just say I just made this as a generic, like this would be like your name, personal headquarter. This is what the inside of a project in Claude looks like. Now, where this starts to get really good is when you fill in the instructions and the files. It will add memory and then your chat. And I'm going to show you in my account in just a second what that looks like. But when you come into, let's see, this is my brand headquarter project. And you can see here, I have probably thousands of chats, but a lot that just goes on and on. But in addition to these chats, I have instructions and then I have knowledge files. Now, the thing about a chat, if you start a chat outside of a project, like just say here, I come in and I just want to create a brand new chat. This is like a one-off question or a one-off task that isn't really fitting for a project. That's great to ask here. But a chat outside of a project is going to have context pulling from your settings. So in your settings, you can come under here, and these are like global instructions for what tell your Claude. And that's a good thing. But if I say, hey, help me write a social media post, I want to target my ideal client persona of X, and I want to talk about X, Y, and Z topic. It doesn't have those documents, the instructions, and the frameworks to follow in that repetitious order. Okay. So if I come into my project, however, and I want to start a chat inside here, then every brand new chat that I start contained in this project is going to follow these steps. Every new chat is first going to look at the project instructions. Now, what are project instructions? It is what it sounds like. It's instructions that guide the project. So for me, is this example, I just say this project is a working environment for KS Marketing, Katie's personal brand strategy and consulting business. Start here. I want to call this attention because now I'm going to walk you through the framework of what my prompt does on the back end before it ever has a single output. Is it says, read the master MD file. This is the single source of truth for context. It covers things like identity, offers, pillars, content themes, what have you. Read it before starting any task. In addition, I outline what are the different knowledge files that are in this project and what do they cover. So, for example, this document, Brand Foundations, talks about my mission, my brand promise, my positioning, and my UVP. At the bottom of my instructions, I also say voice and writing. The Katie Shy voice skill governs all content written as Katie. Do not replicate voice rules. Okay. So, what does that mean? If I write any chat, it is first and foremost going to reference my instructions and it's going to say, hey, before you do anything, go read this document. Now, this is what I've built multiple layers on training my Claude account to really know everything about me or as much as I can. But this says you're working with my personal brand. It goes over things like my identity, my positioning statement, and sorry, I'm trying to tell my husband to come get my dog. My positioning statement, my business model, my ideal client personas, all of these things. So think of this document as it's 4 pages. This is like the executive summary of a snapshot of who I am, what I do in my business. So before there's any chat, it's going to consume that information about me. And then on the back end, it has a skill that specifically explains how to talk in my voice. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Raise your hand if you guys have any questions, or you can come off mute. But yep, Inika, if you want to ask, or if you want to just come off mute, you can.
Hey, Katie, it's Anika here. I'm in
Hey,
Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm a realtor, and I found out about you because I'm friends with Neil Hingra. I'm also part of his mastermind.
hey.
So, real quick, I am learning a lot about Claude. I guess the prompt that you put under projects, are you creating a knowledge base, and how are you knowing what to actually give it? Are you getting more information from somewhere else to input that? Because I wouldn't really know, like,
Yeah.
how or
You mean
what
in terms of knowledge base, are you saying these files?
just earlier when you had said that you need to prompt how to respond when you're in a project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. So I rely on Claude to help me as I'm like building things out, right? So I have a tool for you guys at the end that I'll give to you guys. You can download it as a skill to help guide this a little bit. But in short, what I like to do is I always think the big picture, what am I trying to accomplish? And then I back into that. So for example, you can see here, if I just show you what my projects are, I have things like a brand headquarters. I have a bucket for my content. I do have a dedicated bucket just for working on setting up my Claude and skills, my different offers, my podcast. So I start there. Okay, what are the core areas in my business that I do on a regular basis that I want to theme out? Then, once I build out my projects and going through, building the project, you would just click new project. You can do test. The what are you trying to achieve isn't so important. This is like an internal memo for you, right? So you could literally say whatever you want.
So
So
if I
that's
wanted to bring, so this wouldn't be, do you know, sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm like,
yeah.
I have a listing appointment and I really wanted to jump on the Zoom, but I am so busy and I'm like all over the road here. And I need to stop and attend this appointment. So I'm so sorry I'm interrupting you.
Yeah.
So can you do Claude code in that? So let's say, for example, I wanted to route my website and connect it to my CRM or something like that. Would that be a whole different platform for coding
Nope,
or can
it's
I do
not.
that
It's
here?
there's connectors, and that's what I'll get to next.
Okay,
Claude
perfect.
Code and Claude Cowork are going to be on the desktop version. So what I'm just showing you right now is system setup. I will
Okay.
record this webinar, so I'll send it out. And then if you want to send me a DM one-to-one and we set up another time, that's something that we can do. So yes, I'll definitely get back to that.
Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you.
Okay, so going back to once I have the project, the instructions. Now, say you're like, hey, this is my content. You can literally come in here and say, Claude, please help me write instructions for this project. I'd like it to accomplish XYZ. I'm not going to do that in here because just for the sake of time, but I always try to talk to Claude. Like, I'm not a Claude expert, but I guess one of my superpower skills is I ask a lot of questions. And so I just will go into Claude and be like, hey, help me write these instructions. And again, I have a tool for you guys at the end that I'll give you that does help you kickstart this. Now, going back into the files, you guys, this is where it starts to get hyper personalized is putting in information about you and how that works. And I will go into that at the end as well. The last thing I'm going to show really quick is memory. One of the cool things about Chat or Claude, and I know Chat does this as well, is memory. So as you are working in your chats and you're building up memory from repetition, Claude builds its memory on the go. This is not something that I wrote. This is something that it just is like, oh, okay, of all of your chats, you keep talking about this. Now, if you're in a chat, and I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but sometimes I've been in a chat and I'm like, I just feel like you unlocked this idea or that. You can always say, save that to memory. Or simple as if you're getting an output and it's giving you M dashes and you're like, for the love of God, I never want to see another M dash. You can say, never use M dashes in any of my content. Save this to permanent memory. Now, there's other ways you can do this in settings to even more hard program that. But if you just tell it to save it to memory, it will do that. So this is why I'm seeing really good results in my content without having tons and tons of editing is because it comes into the setup. Okay. Any other questions before I start doing some demo of showing you the difference between a non-setup account and a good account? Okay. I am going to show you this. Now, just to go back here really quick, you can see here under my projects, this is a test project. There is nothing saved in this project, right? I'm going to delete it just to show you. There is nothing in this project, and I'm going to show you under settings here really quick. There is nothing set in instructions. So this is literally as if I just opened this account and it has no memory of me. Okay. So we go into chats. You're going to see there's one chat, and this is what I'm going to demo in a second. So this is really like a brand new account. Okay. So I'm going to start a new chat, which is right here, actually. And I want to give it this exact prompt. Can you create an Instagram carousel that introduces me to my followers? Give me the exact text for 5 to 7 slides plus the caption. I'd love to share who I am, what I'm about, what I do, why I love what I do, why I'm good at what I do, and who I help. Now, this is just a prompt that I have used for a previous piece of content. By no means is this the magic prompt. Feel free to screen share this or screen grab this if you want. I can even put this in the chat if that would be helpful. There you go. But I wanted to run a side by side difference. And you're going to see this is a client that I've helped in the past. He gave me his permission to use his name and likeness in this example. You will see I have his instructions set up. I have completed his brand book. So all of his files are in here. So this project knows his voice. I also want to pause here really quick and show one of the ways that I can bounce in between things is a project is also a knowledge container. So you guys probably aren't ghostwriting for clients or doing outside work like that, but this is how I can keep my Claude from not thinking that I'm multiple personalities based on other clients that I've helped. So anything related to this particular individual, his ideas, his chats, I can work in this project and it stays here without bleeding into the other areas of my account. One last thing I want to focus on, I'm sorry I bounced around really fast, is skills and the connectors. So I'm going to give you this example in just a second with the side by side. You'll see skills. I asked you really briefly if you had ever heard of a chat GPT, a custom GPT. A skill is like a custom GPT, but you can stack a skill. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But what is a skill? So let's say, because I'm going to use Jason as an example, I took his brand book and then I created a skill in Claude that remembers his voice and his writing style. So it says, you're writing as Jason Harmon, founder of Mortgage Smarter. Here's how the skill works. Here's the foundation. It trains this specific skill on here's how he writes, here's how he doesn't sound. Then this is really smart. It goes through and it says, okay, his tone shifts by platform. If we're writing a blog, it's going to sound like this versus a social media post, email, what have you. Okay. So, why I'm showing you that is because when I say write an Instagram carousel that introduces Jason, it is using this prompt with these instructions, organizing information found in these files, and it is going to call the skill, which is his writing style, and it's going to create the outcome. Now, because I don't have any skills saved in Claude, this rookie account, you're going to see that it's going to ask me different things. Now, I'm going to show you here, and I'm going to show you here, side by side, what it's going to look like. Now, this is common. This knows nothing about me. I've fed it no information. I do not expect me to just try to be generic right out the gate. But typically by default, Claude is going to ask you questions if it doesn't know you. Now, this kind of gets annoying if you're like in a hurry and you're like, oh, this is where people switch back to ChatGPT because ChatGPT knows them better and they're getting stuck in the friction of training their AI tool to know them on other platforms. So, for example, this question is, what's your name? What do you do for work? Okay, use placeholders for right now. Which vibe is your personal brand? I don't know. Maybe I'm bold and motivating, but like, who knows? Okay, now you can see here, I ran that same prompt and this tells you exactly what it does. It loaded the skill and it loaded the user skill for Instagram carousel because I have a specific skill that says exactly how to write trending carousels that go on Instagram. And then I have a skill for his specific voice. Now, let's look at how this sounds and we'll see. Skip. Okay. This is probably not a great example for a personalization off of a dry prompt, but so you can see the output. Meet Jason. He puts hot sauce on everything, lets a 70-pound American bully run his household, and has closed mortgages for 22 years. Two of those facts matter more than you think. So most mornings he's at the gym before the office. Most weekends you'll find him on the golf course or getting outvoted by his two daughters, Peyton and Piper. His wife, Kathy, works alongside of him. Roxy, the dog, supervises. His day job, he's a mortgage advisor in Orange County. But Jason doesn't sell loans. He helps people make decisions about the biggest purchase of their lives, then builds a plan around where they actually are headed. He calls it data therapy. You bring the goals, he brings the numbers and the context behind them. No pressure, no jargon, just rates, or no rates shouted at you. What keeps him in it after 20 years? The moment a first-time homebuyer stops feeling anxious and starts feeling in control. The veteran family who finally uses the benefit they earned. That's the whole job to him. So 22 years, 14-day average close, 5 stars on Zillow, but the real edge is simpler. He treats every client like family, and family doesn't get sold to, gets the truth. Okay, so you can see here, it gives you the slides, and then it gives you the caption. This output came because, again, going back, it has his full setup. It has memory, instructions. I didn't have to say that his daughters were named this and his dog was named this and he's got hot sauce, loves hot sauce, and he's been doing it for 22 years. That's where when you set it up with giving it information about you, Now you can see that it writes more human. If you read something, you can see here, again, this is probably not the best example to show you because I didn't give it some sort of a persona, but you can see here the output is different. Now, let me do a better example and show you demo number 2. And I'm going to go back into Jason's account and I'm going to just say, write an Instagram post about a client who said, I'm not ready to buy yet, just looking. Have you guys ever had any of those clients? Tina's, yes, too many. Okay.
How does
So
the skill get created
how do the
from?
skills get created? That is a great question. And I will show you in just a second because you're going to see here, you guys, this is happening in split seconds. It's saying loading Jason's Instagram voice skill, right? It's actually Jason's, he has a skill and then he has a voice skill and he has an Instagram skill. So now it's going to show you, here's the difference. Okay, this is the generic post. This is what you see mostly on social media across the board because we're all still learning what to do here. But here's the generic output. I'm not ready to buy yet, just looking. That's perfectly okay. Here's the thing. Some of the best client relationships started with just looking because buying a home isn't just a transaction, it's one of the biggest decisions you'll make. When you say you're just looking, here's what I hear. You're being thoughtful about your future. You want to understand the market first. You're not rushing into anything. My job is to be here when you're ready. No pushy tactics, just guidance. So go ahead, look around, tour homes. Yeah, don't get pre approved. Just kidding. And when the time feels right, I'll be here to help turn your dreams into keys. Okay, you guys, could you put any single NMLS licensed loan officer behind that post? Yes. And if you're not a loan officer, maybe you're a realtor, maybe you're a sales professional, doesn't matter. The concept is here. This is like so many emojis. It's so generic. It's perfect. It's polished. It's correct. That's the problem. So when we start scrolling Instagram, LinkedIn, our email, wherever we're consuming content, too many people sound like this. Here's why this gets me so freaking excited. You guys, the bar is so low. The bar for good content, the bar for standing out. Like, you're not having to compete with the Neil Dingras, as we all say, as Enika was saying. We don't have to compete with that. The bar, the general population is stuck creating content like this. So if you can just figure out a few of these tweaks, your content is going to be sounding more like this. So, a client told me last month she was just looking, not ready to buy, no pressure, no timeline. She just wanted to understand what was even possible. So, we looked at the numbers together, no application, no pulling credit, no official, just her actual income, her savings, what the market in her area was doing. Turned out she was a lot closer than she thought. The thing holding her back wasn't her finances, it was that nobody had ever shown her the real picture. So, someday felt safer than asking. That's most people. They wait to feel ready before they look, when looking is the thing that makes you ready. Just looking is a great place to start. You don't need a house picked out to understand your options. Walk me through what's going on and I'll show you the data. Now, again, there's probably a few things that I would tweak here so that it still feels even less AI than this. But between these
Can
two
you
posts,
elaborate as to what?
yeah, that's a great question. And my eye for AI content is probably way more critical than most. Some of the things I see a lot, like right now, the word actually, it's like my pet peeve, but it's like, what's actually happening? This actually was the case. Are you actually is overused? A lot of phrases like, it's not this, it's that. It's not that you're late, you're just early. We're all past the M dash, and I have it hard coded in here to not do that. But the really short, choppy sentences, talking in triplets sometimes. So, again, it's not that this is bad. Curious, of the two, which one feels more human? Of the two, can you hear somebody like a real person on the other side of the content? Because that's the goal. An M dash. An M dash is like the double, like a don't wait just by now. So this M dash, this is like where it would be a solid line. So it's the hyphen that you see in a lot of AI written content. We call it an M dash, which I love a good M dash, but can't win them all. Okay, so my personal goal, anytime I create content, my personal goal, MJ, yes, you used the M dash perfectly. Thank you. My personal goal in any content that I create is I want whoever is on the other side of the screen to be able to hear my voice. I want them to be able to be like, that sounds like Katie. If I got Katie on the phone, if I pulled up one of her videos, I could, it just has that, yeah, that sounds like Katie, right? And so the goal is I want my content to feel like me in real life. And so when I talk, I don't talk superly polished. I didn't go to finishing school, right? My content isn't perfect. Can Claude watch videos? I'm wondering if you're thinking about maybe YouTube or something like that. Here's the thing. You can provide it like a YouTube link if you're wanting to reverse engineer somebody's hooks or their content. Claude can't, you can put in a link. Claude will go and scrub the video title and the description. It does not go and scrub the actual transcript of the video. So you cannot just put the video link and be like, write the transcript. But if the video is on YouTube, almost always you can go into the descriptions. What I do is I just actually pull the transcript off of YouTube and we'll copy paste that. An actual video file. That's a good question. Depends on, I don't want to say it depends on how long the video is. You could certainly try. I haven't had it do that yet. I'm I feel like the answer is no, but I am always amazed. And there are so many edge cases that I really don't know everything. So I could be wrong. Yeah, chat can't. I think it cannot. It's programmed to read MD file. If you hear MD, it just stands for Markdown, or a TXT, which is a text file, a Word document. A PDF is treated like an image, and it's just getting so much better at reading it, but it prefers, and that's just because MD is like an HTML format. Now we're getting really nerdy. A document is totally fine.
Now,
Okay.
ChatGPT can't output the same thing as Claude if you train it well.
I would imagine it. Here's the thing, you guys, going back to the magic is you more than it is solely the tool. So I know lots of people that are like diehard chat GPT and they probably won't change. That's perfectly fine. If ChatGPT is working for you and you're super happy with the results and you feel like you have a system and it's easy and your content is converting, you don't have to switch to Claude. Here is the other things, and I'm not going to have time to get into cowork and codex, but going over here into cowork has to be run, and this probably is a dedicated webinar in and of itself. Cowork needs to run on your desktop. The problem that a lot of loan officers specifically run into is if they're on a company issued desktop, a lot of companies lock this down for very understandable reasons. So you either have to have your own personal PC that you're going to be running this on. Same thing with your connectors. So for example, let me come over here really quick and talk to you real quickly about connectors. Because up until now, all of these use cases I'm showing you are primarily on copywriting. And it's brilliant, but you could be very much thinking, I could get these same outputs on ChatGPT. I'm not sold. That's totally okay. Where I am like getting obsessed with some of the efficiencies is the connectors. So if we think of connectors on your team, think of them like your admin support staff. They go out and connect your Claude account to third-party apps that you use. Okay, like an admin, they're a support role. So I have connected my Claude account. These are all a lot of the apps that I use. Airtable, Base 44. Some of these you won't be using. Calendly. Any of you guys use Calendly? You can connect it. Canva. You can connect it. I use Flowdesk, Kit, and MailChimp. You can connect it. Tina, why do I use Zoom with Claude? I can say, as an example, let me just give you a chat real quick. Let me just run into, can you pull the Switch to Claude transcript from yesterday's recording in Zoom. Let's see if it can do that. I might have deleted that recording. We'll see if it's in my Zoom account. I wasn't prepared to answer that specific question, but so what you can do is say you go have a meeting in Zoom with a client and you're like, cool, I just did like a discovery call with my client and I got all their dreams and wishes and whatever. Now it's going to ask me to give permission because this is connected. Now this is Claude going in and talking to my Zoom account. And it's saying, I found a switch to Claude demo recording from yesterday. Let me pull its transcript. So the transcript retrieval tool I have needs to be loaded. So it's going to pull this. Let me pull the transcript. So you're going to see it working and thinking. Now in a second, I'm hoping that it's going to perform correctly. And it's saying the recording from yesterday, I can open it directly in Zoom, or it's going to say I can download it. Download the VTT. Oh, it's going to ask me to download this. So, and that's the downside to Zoom is like with the transcripts in the VTT file. Let's just say any other suggestions. I don't want to work that hard. I always say that. You probably could even say, hey, help me set up a meeting and invite so and there's just examples that you could connect it to. But while this is working, I'm going to pop back into connectors here really quick. Sorry. So you can come in here and connect it. I connect my Canva. So I can say, hey, go in and look at this file in my Canva, and it can read the whole file. I can say, hey, here's my carousel. Now go find this template in Canva and insert the exact text that I have that you guys just copied. Go write that over the template, and it will actually take the copy from the carousel, like Jason's carousel we just did. It will go insert, it'll make a copy of the file in Canva and it will write over it. So there's a lot of really cool ways. This is much more advanced, but there's really cool things that you can do with it. I have Granola as a note taker. So I can say, hey, I just got off of a client call. Please access the notes from Granola and give me a summary, draft it in an email format and let me go. So can you summarize my last Granola call and put the follow up in an email format? I'm going to take this off the share screen really quick because I don't know who was on my last call. So I don't want to share that unless in case it's sensitive. If it's not, I'll pull it in. Okay, questions on connectors. Really quick.
How does it work with Canva?
How does it work with Canva? Yep, so it connects with your Canva account. Let me see if I can pull in, for example, you guys, my Canva, I have so many things. Let me see if I can find really quick a template that I had here. Social media always feels a little vulnerable sharing things on a screen. Okay, template. Okay, so this is a carousel template, right? You can just see here. This is a template that I have. Let's go into Jason's file that we just did, carousel. Great. Please look in my Canva account for the file named this. Confirm when you find it. Okay, so I'm going to ask it to go look for this specific file name. I'm going to make a copy of this really quick. So if we copy over it, I at least have it.
And right now you're working in a project, you're not working in a one-off, right?
Yes, I am, because this is Jason's example that I was showing you. So right here, you can see it just pulls the frequent things that it might. And I'm going to say, yep, it's Katie Shive carousel template. Okay. So now it's going to say found it. Great. It's the Now, can you use the carousel text we built above for Jason and write over the text that's in the template inside Canva? Now, I have found you guys with connectors, they can be a little bit jittery. Rod, yes, I will send out the recording. 100% yes. I will send out the recording for this. Okay, I do need Whisper Flow. Lee, I use Whisper Flow constantly, just not typically in training. I should. But if y'all don't know what Whisper Flow is, it's a voice to text. So I can literally push two buttons down and say, please help me write a carousel for Jason Harmon. And you'll see that it literally just types it instantly.
How's this better than the built-in?
This sound, I can do this. Whisper Flow goes across my phone and any device. So a lot of times I have been talking to the voice text inside of ChatGPT, or I'm sorry, Claude, and it doesn't pick it all up, or I think it's registering and it doesn't. The second thing is you can use this across any tool in your entire computer and your app versus the voice to text inside Claude or ChatGPT is limited to that platform. So I can voice text and it will save a copy in the app as well as whatever it's using into. Okay, so I will say it's a little glitchy. I have been back and forth yelling at it, and now it's not letting me do this. And this is where you guys are seeing in real time. AI is still, you need a human in the loop. But last time, nope, not correct. You have read write privileges, whatever. Do this now. So sometimes I have to get a little bit, no, you can do this. I hear you. Anyways, okay, so it's hopefully going to do this, but it very well might not. Okay, so another example I was showing you is with Granola. So this is a note taker that I have. And now that I have this as a connector, it can take the notes from the last call that I had, and then it can pull that in. And I just said summarize it into an email. And then here's a button I can click send via email, and it will literally pull it up because it's connected into, and then it's going to literally pull it in here. I would subject line everything and I click send. So there's a lot of really cool ways that when you start connecting your tools, it will start doing that. Now, I'm going to pause. Any questions? Okay, so now I'm going to see exactly what it's doing. Okay, so I'm going to pop back in really quick, you guys, to the last thing that I want to talk about. Oh, you guys had asked really fast. Heskey, you had asked, how do you create a skill? Again, that is probably another workshop that I probably will do. But if you come into skills on the left-hand side, you click skills, and then you can come under here and create a skill. I always like to start with create with Claude. And then it's a skill that helps you build a skill. And now you just brain dump. My general philosophy is anything that you do more than 3 times, turn it into a skill. So if you're like, hey, after every time I meet with a client, I send them a follow-up email, or I take their notes, I dump it in here, blah, 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 blah. Now, I always defer back to compliance. You guys know what you can and can't do. So I'm never going to encourage you to do something that you can't. But there's lots of ways that here's what do I do on a regular basis? Maybe I have a generic email template that every time I meet with a new client or I send out a pre-approval, I have a generalized email of how I send it. Great, turn that into a skill. Maybe you want to create a skill for, hey, I always facilitate this type of call with a client and I want a follow-up email template based on this. There is a bit of an art and a skill to writing a skill, and I'd be happy to do another class on that. Okay, I feel like I'm rushing, but I really want to respect your guys' time, and I know that we're almost out of time. So I'm going to just mention really briefly, because if you're like, I feel like my eyes are glossing over, I don't want you to feel that. Let me just pull this up really quick. Okay. So a couple ways that I help my clients is I build out one-to-one brand books. Heskey is on this call. He's done this with me. He could attest to this.
Best.
What
It's a must.
what this looks like in short is I do a 90-minute interview with you. I ask you 5 million questions. People joke that I'm like a brand therapist. I do have a tally mark on my board for how many people I've had cry because we get into real work. I'm not looking for tell me that you're a loan officer or realtor. I'm looking for really what is your why and how do we unearth that in a way that sounds like you and not every other loan officer in the country. So this is, if you guys have any interest learning more about this, is very high touch. There's 3 or 4 one-to-one coaching sessions with me. I am creating your Claude skills. I'm setting up your projects, building your instructions, loading your brand book, going through that whole thing. All of the IP, everything that we work on is 100% yours. I hand all of that off, training videos, the whole 9 yards. So you guys can learn more about that here. Here's what I am doing. If you're like, cool, I want a little bit like that price point, the one-to-one doesn't work for me, or I don't have the time, what have you, or I want to learn this with you, I am going to be doing a cohort. So my goal is to keep it small by intention because I want to be able to actually walk you guys each through the outcomes. So I'm going to cap it at 5 people. What that's going to look like is it's a 4-week period. I am going to do 4 one-hour sessions once a week. So my thought is I'll probably host it on a Monday, depending, but it's 1 hour each Monday for 4 weeks. And I'm going to go over through different sections. The first week, we're going to help build out your actual brand book. Okay, so I have a tool that is going to help you go step by step to answer some of those questions that I go through in my one-to-one. It's not going to be as extensive, but it's going to be a starting point as a completed brand book. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to jump into your Claude as a group and we're going to go through all of what I just did in a slower process. We're going to work on setting up some of your projects. We're going to write your instructions. We're going to upload your brand book. And then I'm going to create a voice skill for you that you can load to your Claude account you'll have that foundational starting piece for Claude. And then I'm going to have office hours at the end of the week, 30 minutes, or if you have questions based on the homework that we've done, you can pop into my office hours, ask me anything, we can troubleshoot, share screens, what have you. So each week for 4 weeks, it'll be 90 minutes of like live interactive time with me. And then at the end of it, you'll have a mini brand book, a content strategy, you'll have some Claude skills, and your account will be set up. So you can scan that code if you want to get on the list. If you guys have any questions, follow me on Instagram. I'm active there a lot, LinkedIn or email. Those are the 3 places I hang out most.